I guess it was a terrible day for DC and Marvel. Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix. My name is Chris Wong. Today we're going to talk about that Spider-Man No Way Home leaked trailer. Then Kevin Feige actually commented on a potential DC and Marvel crossover movie. Then we're going to have to talk about that James Gunn, The Suicide Squad current box office performance. Misha Green may have hinted a little bit more about Black Canary. And finally, another team has a new Justice League motion comic. Right, let's talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. So Spider-Man No Way Home trailer leaked online and the internet went on fire. It went nuts. People were going crazy over it. You know who leaked that trailer? Just kidding. Quality wasn't that great though. It's pretty much a phone shooting another phone shooting a computer screen. And whoever pulled that out will probably get fired like today. That trailer was just a tease, but it also had unfinished VFX. Pretty damn crappy for the first look. I can't even imagine what Kevin Feige is thinking right now.
What? But you can't do this to me.
You know how much I sacrificed?
Now, I'm actually excited for Spider-Man No Way Home because there is potential we'll get to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, the two best Spider-Mans, better than Tom Holland. But this trailer was mid at best. Pretty much starts off after Spider-Man Far From Home when everybody knows who Spider-Man is. So Peter Parker reaches out to Doctor Strange hoping he'd cast a spell so that everyone forgets he's Spider-Man. Of course, like every time Peter Parker in this MCU verse messes up, it's catastrophic. And something happens, ending in a really cool shot of Alfred Molina returning as Doc Ock, and it ends just like that, without seeing if there's a Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield. But I know they are in there. Now I'm wondering what Sony and Disney is going to do. Sony started pulling this trailer off of Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube. There were rumors that this trailer was supposed to have come out tomorrow night, but seeing that it already leaked out in an unfinished version, I'm wondering if there is an actual finished version. And maybe they're going to actually put out a different trailer because this one is like everywhere. Overall, I think it was a simple, basic tease of Spider-Man No Way Home. It lets you know what this story is all about, but I'm hoping the actual trailer looks much more awesome with finished VFX, of course, and maybe it's going to come out this week. There was also a leaked picture of Alfred Molina, Willem Dafoe, and Jamie Foxx, but I'm not sure if that was real, but just in case, I'm not going to show it because I don't want Sony pulling my YouTube video. So since we're talking about Marvel, Kevin Feige actually talked to Brandon Davis at Comic Book Now about a potential DC Marvel crossover. This is what he had to say.
Is James Gunn's pitch about Marvel and DC. I just want your thoughts on such a crossover.
Well, you know my standard answer to things are never say never. I never thought we'd get this far. But James has not brought that up. James is deep in Guardians 3, getting ready. That will begin filming before the end of this year. And having finished the spectacular The Suicide Squad and selling that movie, he is well underway of prep on Guardians 3 now.
Now you can check out the rest of Brandon Davis' interview in the link in the description down below. Now I'm not surprised Kevin Feige said never say never. He's a businessman. He knows that there's a potential market, potential box office draw for a DC Marvel movie. And of course he's not going to say no to that. Although he can't say yes to that because he doesn't own the property that's over at Warner Brothers. But I know he knows that that could potentially happen in the near future because James Gunn is now part of Warner Brothers and DC. They're gonna let him come back to do more DC projects. Kevin Feige actually went on the set of the Suicide Squad, so you know that Warner Brothers doesn't mind that at all. And I'm thinking Warner Brothers probably thinks, hey, if Kevin Feige kind of helps them up their brand a little bit, maybe we should do a DC Marvel crossover. Even though I think that should be like later down the line when Marvel and DC have exhausted everything in their inventory. I think Kevin Feige is actually really interested in trying to make this happen. I'm sure he has a lot of things on his mind at the moment, and DC is not part of it. Would it be cool? Yeah, I think it would be pretty nuts to see a DC Marvel crossover. And I'm hoping that when they get to that crossover, Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill will reprise their roles as Batman and Superman, respectively. Since we were talking about James Gunn, let's talk about The Suicide Squad. Now, according to Gadesh Panya, The Suicide Squad dropped 54% in its third weekend to $3.4 million, pushing 17-day box office cumulative to $49.3 million. It lost 1,093 screens this weekend as it continues to stream on HBO Max through September 5th. Domestic final may reach 56 million. This is terrible because they've lost a lot of theaters in its third weekend. And I heard that in the second weekend they were losing theaters as well. Now, worldwide, The Suicide Squad has earned $140.8 million at the box office, but still shy from its $185 million budget. The facts is there. It was a box office failure. Free Guy is doing very well in theaters. Now, we have to remember when we compare movies, it has to be apples to apples. Free Guy is only available in theaters. They don't have a streaming service they could put out to. The Suicide Squad was same day in theaters and on HBO Max. So there's a profit split of the box office and HBO Max. According to Samba TV, 4 million US households watched The Suicide Squad in its first 10 days streaming on HBO Max, making it one of the biggest hits of HBO Max. Now, it's kind of hard to gauge how much box office they could have got if it went straight to the theaters instead of being on HBO Max. One could argue 4 million households and each person would have paid like an average of $10 a ticket to see if that would equate to how much box office they lost. But how would you even calculate that? It's not like there's one person per US household. And if that was the case, then that's about $40 million in box office loss. But no, there could be 4 people in every household or 5 or 6 people. So it's kind of hard to gauge. But I do know that if people wanted to watch The Suicide Squad the second time, more likely they'd watch it on HBO Max instead of going to theaters. Maybe they didn't even watch The Suicide Squad in theaters the first time around. So all of that went to HBO Max. And then you got movies like Black Widow, which had a premium pass of $30 to watch Black Widow on Disney Plus. Tallied up how many premium passes there were and how much that came out to. But so it's really kind of hard to tell how The Suicide Squad did. I guess the question is, does Warner Brothers care about that? And it doesn't seem like they do. They seem like they were already invested in James Gunn before it even came out in the theaters. But because Warner Brothers seems very happy with The Suicide Squad and happy that it was like the second most viewed movie on HBO Max same day premiere, that's why they're pushing more movies onto HBO Max, I believe. And one of those movies is Black Canary. Misha Green, who is writing Black Canary, may have hinted a little bit more about Black Canary than more than meets the eye. She tweeted this out: procrastinating from writing musings. Gail Simone wrote Black Canary and Tomb Raider comics. Are we secretly the same person? And just to remind you, if you didn't know, Misha Green is writing and directing the next Tomb Raider movie. But the picture that she posted for the Black Canary comic was interesting. It says, bold new direction, birds of prey, it all starts here, Oracle and Black Canary. And I'm thinking, wow, that's interesting. Oracle? You mean Barbara Gordon was in that comic book? And obviously in this timeline, Barbara Gordon is still going to be Batgirl. But I thought that was kind of interesting that she put that out. Which makes it kind of cool because we know there's another HBO Max movie coming, and that is Batgirl, played by Leslie Grace. It would be kind of cool if Misha Green brought in Batgirl into her movie somehow, even though it's probably already a packed movie because of all the emojis she kind of shared. But I think having that connectivity would be pretty awesome, knowing that HBO Max is expanding the DCEU and not creating their own universe. But I think with the pandemic and how the box office is not really their draw at the moment, they're actually greenlighting more and quicker projects on HBO Max than ever before. So here's hoping they actually smart up and actually release the Ayer cut and Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. Speaking of Zack Snyder's Justice League, remember that Justice League motion comic that was supposed to happen, but that kind of fell through, which was unfortunate because they actually got voice actors like Ray Porter and Karen Bryson to be involved in that too. And it was all for the AFSP, so that would have been really awesome. But it looks like there's a different team actually making their own Justice League motion comic. This is coming from Luis Enrique Bedrigo Vega at Mr. Vega 214. It's a sneak peek of the Justice League motion comic. And I'm guessing this is also based upon those Justice League whiteboards. I'm not quite sure, but it looks really awesome. There's a lot of potential here. There's original music and inspired artwork. I think this would be a fantastic motion comic. But like I said, the original Justice League motion comic was a very good idea. So I'm really looking forward to this Justice League motion comic.